Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll. We have Greg and Dave missing. Everybody else is present. Old business. Item 1 is approval of minutes. The regular meeting minutes of August 19, 2021 were provided for review. I need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of August 19, 2021 as presented.
I'll move. Second.
A motion and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Motion passed. Audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda tonight? Okay, new business. Item number 2 is change order request number 2, 2021 Capital Improvement Program. The concrete gutters on South Fork and Illicit Court and the curbs on Clearview and DeSoto have deteriorated and require replacement. Funds are available from the Capital Improvement Fund for the additional work. I need a motion to approve change order number 2 from Little Joe's Asphalt for the additional gutter and curb replacement in the amount not to exceed $20,585.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Appreciate the pictures, Mike. How old is this stuff?
Yes, thank you for the pictures.
You're quite welcome. Clearview is not that old. It's I would say that's probably in the 10 to 12 year range, but that's just a weird failure. DeSoto's a year and a half old, but that's damage from obviously vehicles, but we don't know where or how. So that's what those. Now, Wyndham is approaching 20 years old now. So the South Fork and the Illicit Court is about 20 years old. We actually have a lot of feedback on Illicit Court and South Fork, so we were going to try to hold off until we could get it in the mill and overlay CIP, while we're already there, but we've run out of time.
Mike, did you ask the homeowner there that lives right on that property where the curb is crashed into, it looks like, on DeSoto, to see if anybody knows? I mean, that looks like heavy equipment hit it or something. I mean, I don't think a tire would do that. It just looks like something crushed into it.
It does look like something rather large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's the time frame for completion of that?
Well, giving them the notice to proceed tomorrow, we should anticipate this and work to be scheduled. It needs to be done by October or it'll start getting too cold.
Right.
But we would, we'll see what the contractor schedule has available. I will say that we've had a lot of difficulty soliciting for prices for concrete. The contractors are we actually solicited for multiple prices on the curb, and all of them were like, nope, we can't get to it until October, November, and then we don't even know if we can get to it. So.
This majority of this cost, is it material? I know it's material and labor, but is majority of it material or is it more labor?
I'd say majority is most likely labor and equipment on these. Okay. It's just you've got to form it, you got to pour it, and
Yeah,
you've got
no,
to.
I understand.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes?
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
The motion passed. Item number 3 is ordinance number 1069, fine, bond, board fees, and costs established by municipal court judge. This ordinance establishes the fines and fees scheduled for municipal court, and these changes must be adopted by ordinance to implement. Need a motion to approve ordinance number 1069, adopting the City of Lansing Municipal Court fines and fee schedule.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? No discussion. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes?
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item number 4 is ordinance number 1070, standard traffic ordinance adoption. This ordinance adopts the annual standard traffic ordinance published by the League of Kansas Municipalities with changes outlined in the ordinance. Need a motion to approve ordinance number 1070, adopting the 2021 standard traffic ordinance for Kansas City's 48th edition.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion, call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
It's ordinance night. So item number 5 is ordinance 1071, Uniform Public Offense Code adoption. This ordinance adopts the annual Uniform Public Offense Code published by the League of Kansas Municipalities. I need a motion to approve ordinance number 1071, adopting the 2021 Uniform Public Offense Code for Kansas City's 37th edition.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? No discussion, call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item number 6 is ordinance number 1072, city fee schedule. This ordinance establishes the fee schedule for City of Lansing, and these changes must be adopted by ordinance to implement. Need a motion to approve ordinance number 1072, adopting the City of Lansing's fee schedules.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? No discussion, call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Item number 7 is the public hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate and consideration of resolution number B1, 2021. Due to Senate Bill 13, a public hearing is required for taxing entities who are planning on exceeding the revenue neutral rate, even though the city's proposed budget reflects a mill levy decrease of 0.544 mills. I need a motion to open the public hearing for exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Do we have anybody from the public who would like to speak on this issue? No, then I need a motion to close the public hearing for exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
And I also need a motion to approve resolution number B1, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Item number 8 is public hearing on the consideration of proposed 2022 budget. The proposed 2022 budget will reflect a mill levy decrease of 0.544 mills. I need a motion to open the public hearing for the 2022 budget.
So moved.
Move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Stednica?
Yes.
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Do we have anybody from the public who would like to address the governing body on the budget?
Have we published this budget yet
Yes,
in newspaper?
yes, we had to publish the hearing, not the entire budget, but we published the notice of hearing. We have to give 10 days' notice.
Yeah, I
And
need
it's
that.
also on our website,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I just wanted to take the opportunity during this hearing to address the LAVTR funds that they were brought up at the work session last week. So just kind of an explanation of it, the local ad valorem tax relief fund is, it was set up to be a distribution of state funds to local governments, and they based it on population and then on property valuation. So state law required that 3.63% of the sales tax revenue be used for this fund. but Kansas legislature has waived that rule requiring the sales tax revenue to be allocated to that fund. And this last bullet is just budget tips, which I reference when I do the work session for budget, how that's a good source to kind of learn the budget. This is just a direct quote from there. The funding source for cities and counties remains in statute. However, the state since 2003 has not utilized the statutory scheme and has appropriated no money to this fund. Resurrection of this revenue stream does not seem likely given the state's ongoing budget problems. So, and then next slide. So I went back and researched our budgets to see how much revenue that brought in for the city. So I went back to 1995 just because I happened across a 1997 budget, and I thought, okay, we'll start with 95. The last distribution we received was in 2002. And so the first row is the revenue we received. The second row is the value of 1 mil for that year. And then the LABTR in mills, how that translates to a mill. So then down below, on a $100,000 house, for instance, in 1995, that would have been a savings of $18.76 for the year for a taxpayer. So you can kind of follow that along.
Now, these taxes are still being collected, but they're not,
It's part of the sales tax,
they used to
yes.
call demand
They're-
transfers, are not coming back to the
They're
city.
allocating it to some other
Some other,
funding line.
someplace
Yeah.
in the state.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, roughly, you got any idea how much we should have gotten in that time that we haven't?
The total? No, but I can figure that for you. I can get it to you.
Be interesting to.
The
Okay.
county had put out, well, do you remember what it was in that letter, Tim? That the county had written to the legislature on how much they would have,
Yeah, it was certainly more significant for the county. For us, I would imagine a few $100,000,
Yeah,
probably.
I want to say it was like 3-point-something million.
probably. Yeah.
Over
For the
that
county.
period of time.
Yeah.
So, just FYI, you can contact your
Well,
state representatives.
I was one that asked you if you could give us a quick, I appreciate that you did.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Beth?
Uh-huh.
Anyone else out there want to address the council on the budget? If not, then I need a motion to close the public hearing for the 2022 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Chesnikat?
Yes,
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Motion passed. I also need a motion to approve the 2022 budget.
So moved.
second,
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey? Yes. Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Chesnikat?
yes,
Mr. Trinkle?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Major?
Yes.
Lastly, reports. Tim, you got anything?
Well, Mayor, I actually had something tonight.
Well, I'll go to you next. You're next on my list.
So, we're working on planning events right now, and kind of the general consensus that staff's been working on is if something's outdoors and you can social distance a little bit, we still feel pretty good about it. So, like youth parks and rec activities are still ongoing. We're still moving forward with the fall festival. We feel like out at Angel Falls Trail we'll be able to spread apart pretty good. So we're still planning that. Spooky Center, if you guys remember that before all of the craziness of the last couple of years, kids would be packed in there like sardines. So we still want to do something, but I don't think we want to pack everybody into a gym like that. So I know the staff is looking at doing like a trunk or treat out at Bernard Park. So they still want to do something for the residents and for the kids, but it would look different from years past. But as of right now, that's what they're looking at doing, is some type of outdoor trunk or treat
Didn't we
out
do that at
Bernard
the
Park.
library last year or right in now?
Yeah, and that was kind of a last-minute plan.
Congested? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was really pleased with how that came together, but that was kind of a last-minute type of deal, whereas this one, we're kind of planning it out further in advance. And then the other thing about the one at the library, we had such a great turnout. Traffic actually got
Right.
impacted. I mean, there were
Yeah.
people backed up on K7.
No, I know, yeah.
So hopefully out at Bernard Park we'll have a little bit more space. So those are some events that are still moving forward that we feel really good about. One event that there is a little bit of reluctance on is that annual volunteer dinner. In years past, I want to say we've had 80, 90, 100 people in that. It's indoors. It's in, I think it's the first Tuesday in October, perhaps. I'll double check on that date. But anyway, I would ask you guys to kind of kick it around for a couple of weeks, and then maybe if you guys want to give me your thoughts in a couple of weeks and wait to see how the numbers are. Or, I don't know if you guys have any constituents or if you know any volunteers. Last year, when we postponed it or canceled it, I think we gave all of the volunteers like either a $50 or $100 gift card to a Lansing restaurant. So if we did that, we'd try to give everyone, all of our volunteers, a present. We would try to do that again. But I know there was just this thought about having 80 or 90 people in an enclosed area. And especially, too, I mean, being frank, I mean, a lot of our volunteers are older. Yeah, I mean, they're not the 19-year-olds or anything like that. They're older residents sometimes.
A lot of
So.
them are more hesitant to, I think a lot of them would be more hesitant to participate in
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
Especially if they've been before and see
Yeah.
how
I don't feel like
crowded
it's
it can get
safe.
down there.
yeah.
What?
I said I don't believe 90, 100 people down in that facility is downstairs is
A good idea.
a good idea.
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I-
think
No, it's not.
I don't think it's safe. I think we're put in. I will say they're not old; they're seasoned.
Yeah,
So why
That's
would
good,
we?
yeah.
And I would feel terrible if anybody got sick because of that.
well, I'll circle back in 2 weeks with you guys if you guys want to give me a formal thumbs up or thumbs down. But like I said too, even if we don't do this, we will give all of our volunteers a nice gift card. And we might even have a present for them this year too. So
I don't think age has anything to do with it anymore, Kerry. It's affecting everybody now.
Oh, I agree, Jesse. I do think if you're younger, you have a better chance of surviving if you get it. And
A 26-year-old cop died day before yesterday, so.
Well, and there's a whole class.
I didn't say they were completely safe.
Right, I understand.
Well, and there's an entire class at Lansing that's been quarantined, a whole class.
That's right.
So,
yeah, that is
Yeah.
true.
It'd have,
Makes
to be,
sense.
it'd have to be a big, huge increase or decrease in the numbers for me to feel comfortable.
Right.
Okay.
So if we didn't do the dinner, just come back to you with some ideas or concepts where we still recognize them just in a different way, like someone stops by the house and gives them something nice or something like that. Is that kind of what we're talking about doing?
I mean,
That way we don't bring them into the public and put them in that kind of
Yeah.
environment.
I think we're open to whatever, but I mean,
I'll
like,
drop 'em off.
for instance, like the planning commission is still meeting. So at a planning commission meeting, Matt might give them a gift and a gift card or something like that.
Park board would be the same way.
It maybe be similar, but
Yeah.
that committee might have already started purchasing some of the gifts. Because again, we spoke about this in June at one point, and things were going good. We were feeling good about everything, and then how much has changed in a couple of months. But anyway, so there's that. One bit of really good news. Tony Zell and his staff down at the wastewater plant just do a fantastic job. And I believe they're being recognized again this year as the Kansas Wastewater Plant of the Year, Class 5. So if you see Tony and his guys, be sure to give them a pat on the back. That's a huge honor to be recognized as Plant of the Year. So just kudos to Tony and his staff. Mill and overlay, it got started and then it had to pause a little bit. We're hoping the contractor will be back in the next week and a half to finish up the rest of the stuff. So, and then census, I'm not sure how many of you guys had been following the census. It was a little bit discouraging to see Lansing's population based on the census actually go down. I want to say 24 or 26 people. After a little bit more research, and I know Ken Miller did some research on this for us too, LCF has 650 less inmates now than they did in 2010. So net, we're actually probably more, 625 residents more than we had last time. But just based on the census, since there's 650 less inmates, our population actually went down. So that was a little bit frustrating, and we're talking to some people about that. I'm not sure we'll be able to protest that because there literally are fewer people in Lansing than there were 10 years ago. But if anyone asks you about that, why is this city growing and this city growing, but you guys aren't? Apples to apples, we would have increased by about 625 people had the prison population stayed flat.
Yeah, and it's the law that they're counted. If they're in your city, if your prison's in the city, they count them as residents. They got to keep count of them. So that's just how they do it. It just happened to be that their population went down, which makes the city's population go down, but not the city resident population go down.
It doesn't make any sense because the census is for economic use, and they don't generate any revenue with the prison. The inmates don't.
Yeah.
Right.
So it doesn't really help.
No, it's just accounting.
It could have a negative impact.
Yeah.
Unless they understand what's going on. Here's why we're down.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with the city. It's what's going on at the prison.
And that's part of why I'm telling you guys, and I know we've talked about it internally too. We don't want a prospect to look at neighboring areas that are growing and see Lansing and say, Lansing, you're decreasing, and every city surrounding you is increasing. So we kind of just want to get the word out, I guess I'd say, and that's the reason why I'm bringing that up. So
Tim, are you saying be proactive about that?
I'm trying to, yeah. So I mean, if people ask you about it, or if you know someone who's interested in something in Lansing and they say that, feel free to say that there's 650 less inmates now than there were 10 years ago. So
Yeah, there was no explanation in the paper when it was put out. So I mean, it's just giving the citizens an explanation for why the numbers look like that.
Yeah.
Reported the drop, not the reason why.
Right.
And I think the Leavenworth Times tried to print something after the fact. So hopefully people read that. But yeah. So anyway, that's all I have.
Thanks, Ken. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, I think you're already aware of this. I don't know if the rest of the council is or not, but the Kansas Supreme Court has accepted our petition for review in the fire district case. So from the date of the notice, there's 30 days to file any supplemental briefings. Then if there is a supplemental briefing filed, there's 2 weeks after that to file a response, and then it'll be set for a hearing at some point. So that's good news, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for us and anybody else who is in one of those interlocal agreements across the state. Yeah. Any department heads? Nothing. Okay, we'll go around the horn. Jesse.
I want to express my condolences, my family's condolences to Chief Wayman for the loss of his mother. Very sorry for the loss. It's hard when you lose a loved one. Stay strong. My family's praying for your family. So congratulations to Tony and his team on the award. That's pretty awesome. Anytime our hardworking city employees get recognition, that's a good thing. So that's all I've got.
Thanks, Jesse. Ron?
Well, I'd like to also express my condolences to the chief. Also, congratulations to Tony and his crew, and also want to wish everyone a happy and safe Labor Day weekend.
Thanks, Ron. Gary?
Exactly what Ron said.
Okay, thanks. Don?
Ditto on what those other two said.
Going around the horn. Dave?
Steve, thinking of you, man. Long time. Nice lady. And wish everybody a safe weekend, 3-day weekend. and hope that we can all get through this COVID. It seems like it's starting to amp back up again and getting everybody in a tether. So we need to pull our drawers up and see if we can't get something going here again. And we don't want it to get it out of the way. So. And that's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Dave. Gene?
Forgot, I apologize, I forgot when we did the budget, Tim, Beth, all the department heads who come together and worked. I know it's a lot of time and thought and effort into it. So another one of them team efforts. So I appreciate all of you working on that. Congratulations to Tony and his guys. And if you did not have the pleasure of knowing Eva Wayman, it was your loss. Steve?
Thanks, Gene. Marcus?
Yeah, everything Gene just said. Chief, thank you, Beth and team, Tim, and congrats to Tony. Yep. Thanks. Oh, it's my turn, isn't it? With that, Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. Call the roll.
Mr. Garvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yeah.
Mr. Brungart?
Yes.
Mr. Dunnigan?
Yes.
Mr. Trimble?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
We are adjourned.